The release of the newly published Epstein files has opened one of the most controversial chapters in recent American history. For years, the Epstein case has carried an unsettling combination of mystery, power, and unanswered questions. Now, with millions of pages of investigative records made public under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, the United States is witnessing an unprecedented level of disclosure. These documents, released by the Department of Justice, offer a sweeping view into decades of federal investigations involving Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier whose criminal activities shocked the world and raised profound concerns about how someone with such influence was able to operate for so long. In this documentary, we take a clear, balanced, and factual look at what the newly released files contain, what they actually reveal, and what still remains unknown. This is not speculation. And it is not driven by rumor. It is a careful review of publicly released materials and official statements, presented in a way designed to help audiences understand the depth and complexity of this case, without drawing conclusions that the evidence does not support. Jeffrey Epstein's story has always been intertwined with questions about wealth, power, and access. Although he lacked traditional credentials, he built relationships with high-profile individuals in politics, business, academia, and entertainment. Over the years, allegations accumulated allegations of exploitation, manipulation, and a network that enabled the abuse of minors. His arrest in 2019 reignited global attention, and his death shortly afterward, ruled a suicide, intensified public suspicion and scrutiny. Many believe the Epstein story was far from over, and today's document release only adds more layers to that belief. The files published by the Department of Justice are staggering in scale. More than 3 million pages of documents have been posted, along with thousands of photographs and video files. These materials include investigative reports, court filings, emails, correspondence, evidence logs, interview summaries, travel records, surveillance notes, and other documents collected over many years. Not all of these materials provide new revelations, and many contain heavy redactions required to protect victims, minors, or sensitive investigative details. Still, the sheer volume of information makes this one of the largest transparency releases in U.S. history. One of the most widely discussed aspects of the release is the appearance of well-known names within these documents. It is important to state clearly and responsibly: the presence of a name in the files does not imply guilt, involvement in criminal activity, or direct participation in Epstein's actions. Many contacts were social, business-related, or incidental. Investigators routinely logged communications, travel manifests, and contact lists as part of standard procedure. Nevertheless, the visibility of high-profile names has led to renewed public debate about how extensive Epstein's network was, and how his connections may have shaped his public image, access, and mobility. The files also provide a deeper look at past investigations involving Epstein. Some documents outline early inquiries that did not progress, internal disagreements about how aggressively to pursue leads, and detailed evidence inventories from searches conducted at Epstein's properties. Investigators documented electronic devices, handwritten notes, contact books, financial records, and travel documentation. Some records include descriptions of individuals providing information to authorities, though much of this content remains redacted to protect identities and ongoing privacy rights. The newly released materials also reveal patterns that resemble trafficking behavior. Certain accounts suggest that illegal activities may have continued even after Epstein faced prior legal troubles. These details raise questions about oversight, enforcement, and whether earlier interventions were sufficient or properly handled. At the same time, officials caution that many allegations contained in these documents lack the corroboration needed to support new criminal charges. Context is often missing, and some claims come from interviews or statements that remain unverified. A large portion of the files remain heavily redacted. In many places, names, locations, dates, and specific identifiers are removed, not only to safeguard victims but also to comply with strict legal requirements governing the release of investigative material. These redactions make it difficult to fully interpret certain documents, and they also leave space for public speculation. Some observers believe that important information may still be hidden from view, while others argue that what has been released already represents an unprecedented level of transparency. In response to questions about whether these files could lead to new criminal prosecutions, Justice Department officials have stated that the documents while disturbing and extensive, do not currently provide sufficient evidence to support additional charges. They emphasize that the release of the files fulfills a legislative mandate for transparency rather than signaling new investigative directions. This statement has been met with mixed reactions from the public. Some believe the files should prompt deeper inquiries, while others point out that the justice system requires concrete, verifiable evidence before any individual can be charged. Another significant element revealed in the files is the international dimension of Epstein's activities. The documents reference overseas travel, foreign properties, offshore financial structures, and interactions with individuals from multiple countries. These details highlight the global reach of Epstein's lifestyle and business ventures. In response, several international commentators and media outlets have called for further examination of how Epstein's activities may have crossed borders and whether foreign authorities may pursue their own investigations. Public reaction to the document release has been intense. Social media platforms, news outlets, and online forums erupted with discussion as soon as the files became available. Many people want accountability. Others want clarity. And some simply want to understand how a case involving such serious allegations could continue for so long without full intervention from authorities. The legacy of this case has created a deep sense of mistrust among parts of the public, who question whether the justice system treated Epstein differently because of his wealth, status, or connections. Despite the enormous amount of information now available, many critical questions remain unanswered. How did Epstein build his financial empire? How many people were aware of the nature of his activities? Why did earlier investigations fail to stop him sooner? How many victims have yet to be identified? And what information still remains out of public view due to redactions or legal constraints? The release of these files does not provide final answers. Instead, it opens another chapter in a story that continues to evolve. Researchers, journalists, legal analysts, and members of the public will spend years examining and interpreting these documents. Some may find disturbing revelations. Others may find inconsistencies or dead ends. What is certain is that the release marks a historic moment in the pursuit of transparency surrounding one of the most troubling cases in recent history. As we examine the Epstein files, it is important to maintain a commitment to factual accuracy, respect for victims, and a careful approach that avoids assuming guilt without evidence. The information contained in these documents is vast, complicated, and often incomplete, but together, the files paint a picture of a system that faced serious challenges in dealing with Epstein's actions, challenges involving oversight, accountability, and the complexities of investigating a person with influence and resources. The newly released materials serve as a reminder of why transparency matters. They show how essential it is for investigative processes to remain strong, independent, and free from undue influence. They highlight the importance of protecting victims and ensuring their voices are heard, and they raise important questions about how society confronts wrongdoing when it intersects with power. While Jeffrey Epstein is no longer alive to face justice, the impact of his actions continues to be felt, and the consequences extend far beyond his lifetime. The release of these documents represents a significant step toward understanding the truth, even if that truth is incomplete. And as the public continues to examine and debate the contents of the Epstein files, one thing remains certain: the search for answers is far from over.